Hello and welcome to Webiclass. Today's lesson is dedicated absolutely to the effectiveness of a text and how we express ourselves in writing as we discuss the effectiveness of the lesson. Effectiveness is a very important word in language analysis. The objective of today is this. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to express clearly and in your own words the effectiveness of a selected text. Right. Know that effectiveness is difficult to express. A lot of students do say, oh, I know this is a personification because this and that I can see life having been given to time, for example. Let me give you an example of this. Time is flying. In this sentence, time is personified because time is abstract. We never see time. I'm not talking about when you look at your watch, but then time is flying. Time is abstract. We don't know it. We cannot feel it. We cannot touch it. We only know what concept it is. But time is flying makes us immediately visualize it. You remember, we have to visualize time as a bird that is flying. We have given life to time. We can see it. We can see it acting, flying. So time has been personified. A lot of students will say, yes, time has been personified because of this. But then, in the text where we find time is flying, they stop short of something. They do not say how time is flying helps the writer to put forward more forcefully the message that time is running fast. So, how we express effectiveness convincingly is our job today. We have to argue that we know the effectiveness of something and we can express it well. As we present our argument, we need to be coherent. We need to be convincing in our argument. We need to see to it that subject matter and the technique used match. In other words, subject matter, we know what the writer wants to present. The technique used is there to make it possible for us to compare two things. Our expression must be very clear. All this is quite a mountain to climb. The mountain is high. What do we do? Look at the sentence. Death lays his icy hands on kings. You see this in a text. You know the context of the text. You know what the writer wants to say. If you don't know it, you think deeply about it. As I've said in an earlier lesson, you must react to anything which is unusual. Death lays his icy hands on kings. The writer wants to say something, but why have the writer chosen to put it in this way instead of saying death kills even kings? How effective is this? What is the message? I've just said it. What technique has been used? I can point out a few techniques, but the most obvious, as you can see, is personification, because death is invisible. We feel its effect. It devastates us all, but then we have not seen it before. We see its effects on us. We cannot behold death. We cannot touch it. So, if he's been given hands which are icy and we can visualize death laying these hands on even kings, yes, we know this technique is personification. What do we see? I've explained it. Comparison. What two things are compared? The two things compared, you must be able to visualize it. What does the writer want to say? What is the writer comparing to in the message by using this technique? The argument must be clear, coherent, strong, clearly expressed. Of course, this depends on your own powers of expression, and it differs from person to person. Now, just as a little help, I'll tell you, apart from personification, there are other things. I've told you already about his. His is used for human beings. This his is used for death. So we know death is personified. Hands, death, something abstract, is seen with hands. Again, this is a sign of death being personified. Legs, I've expressed it already. Death is seen doing something actively. Personification of death. Apart from death, laying his icy hands being personification, which is the most straightforward technique everybody I expect to realize and to visualize. There are other things here. There is an oxymoron. We've talked about oxymoron in an earlier lesson. An oxymoron is two things juxtaposed, but these things must be opposites so that we see the difference clearly. Oxymoron, two opposites placed side by side. I've given you in an earlier lesson, remember, my experience in that girls' school, in the library, when I was with the students, the oxymoron expressed there. I've made mention also of oxymoron, which we see always as we pick up a book to read because of the black printing against the background of white, which is the color of the page. Right. Now, so I see oxymoron. Irony. I don't want to say anything about irony because I expect you to know what irony is. Diction. Diction, I expect you to know, but let me just throw a little light on diction. The choice of words. Which words does the writer choose here? Icy, for example, is a word chosen. Kings is a word chosen. Legs is a word chosen. Why does the writer choose these words? They all have got effectiveness. How do you perceive this effectiveness? How do you express it very clearly and convincingly? Right. The exercise today is all about overall effectiveness. You should be able to visualize. You should be able to see that there is something unusual. So you stop and ask yourself questions. You should be able to see the comparison. You should be able to express yourself clearly and convincingly. Right. Today's takeaway will take you back to the same sentence. Death lays his icy hands on kings. In your own words, do this. How effective is the sentence? In fact, I've helped you by reading the takeaway. I shouldn't have done it usually, but because effectiveness is a difficult thing, and this is the first time I'm exposing you to it. I've read it for you, but think carefully about this. I have gone through my own reaction to the effectiveness, but then now I want you to use your own words, your own expression, and do this takeaway. You have 1 week to do this and be ready before the next lesson, in which we shall touch on this takeaway. Right. Thank you very much for another lesson, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next lesson. Bye.
Not yet subscribed? Don't lose out. Join us in Webiclass. Share, ask questions, suggest and subscribe.